Thanks for joining. This is Movado, and I'm back with another episode on Empyrion. But today I'm going to be doing some more damage testing. If you saw my last episode, I did it right over there, where I was testing all the different damages of individual weapons. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to look at penetration with explosive weapons. So basically what that means is right here, instead of the other test I was doing was 1 block thick, here I have 6 blocks thick. So each of these are 6 blocks thick. And hard to see it, but over there I have artillery set up. And the artillery, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot. The first test I'm going to do is going to be 21 artillery at a time in different orientations to see how well they penetrate blocks. Let's go over here and take a look at what I mean. So the first one that I have set up is 21 artillery cannons. If you can see these, all staggered 6 blocks back from each other in an individual single row all the way back. So 21 staggered out. Obviously, you wouldn't have a CV set up like this, but just kind of for the sake of a test, wanted to see what that would do. Next one over is 2 blocks wide. So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Single blocker, single artillery in the back for a total of 21. Next block over, or ship over, is rows of 3. So 3, 3, 3, 3, total of 21. And then finally, the last one I have over here is 21 total all at the same time. So I just want to shoot all those at the different panels over there, see what kind of damage they do, which will help. Then after we're done with that test, I have some more set up down here, and these are going to help determine. I actually haven't shot these yet, so I don't know how this is going to go. But these I have different offsets. So the first one I've set up is back 3 blocks. Each artillery cannon is 3 blocks back from the next. This one is offset by 4 blocks. This one is offset by 5 blocks. And finally, this is offset by 6 blocks. So I just want to take a look at see what is the optimal spread to get the best penetration on some of these weapons. So here we go. Let's get these fired up. Got power. No fuel. That's cool. All right, here we go. Let me get this reloaded. And this is the all singles. I'm going to do the whole row. It's kind of fun watching those. It's kind of a cool little pattern it does. Xeno, pretty well. Wow, destroyed. Again, that's six blocks thick. It took out 6 blocks, and there's like almost nothing left of that. It's pretty crazy. Okay, combat steel. Did not go all the way through. Hardened steel. Should evaporate the whole thing practically, yep. And regular steel. And pretty much there's nothing left of that one. Okay, so that was 21 artillery cannons, 6 blocks offset from the one in front of it. Okay, next one. 2 wide, also 6 blocks offset from each other. Fill it with fuel. And here we go, first one. Did not go all the way through. So you can already see that the single ones up here, just on the Xeno alone, that the singles are doing better than the doubles. Hard to see in the combat steel because neither one of them broke through. Hardened steel, what does that look like? Yep, that one, maybe it looks like it broke through a little bit. And steel, yeah, but evaporated steel. Actually, everything is gone on steel. Okay, moving on to the next one. Fill this. This is 3 blocks. I'm having a hard time seeing right there. Or 3, sorry, not 3 blocks. 3 artillery cannons. Which, based on the fact that the first one completely blew through 6 layers of Xeno, the second one did not, it's safe to say that this one's probably going to do worse. But we're gonna keep doing it. There's probably gonna be a pattern. We'll see with these. Actually, I know I've done these before. Ha ha ha. But I'm gonna do them anyway, just because it's fun to see, just to see how they do. All right, so that was the last one, steel. It actually looks like it went all the way through steel. So that's interesting. 3, you can really see the drop off with 2 blocks wide. It completely evaporated the steel with 3 blocks. Again, I keep saying blocks. Artillery cannons wide. Sorry about that. It does not completely evaporate all that steel. All right, let's get in this guy. This is all 21. This is all 21. Ooh, it's hard to steer. There we go. All 21. We're going to see what happens when you group all your shit together. Let's go. Let's see what this does. It's going to do some good damage. I mean, 21 artillery cannons is still a lot of damage. Obviously, you can see from the panels the clear winner for how much penetration damage is one at a time. But here we go. Okay. Now I can get out of the seat, orient myself, and we're going to head up here and take a look. So this is kind of cool. This is why I like having them 6 deep, because you can really kind of see how much is actually taken out. The Xeno, though, wow. 21 individual ones took out 6 layers, and yeah, that was a lot of damage. On the combat steel, this one, it did go through 5 layers, and it did damage the 6th. So this 6th layer did take damage. If I come through here, it looks like 5 blocks of that 5th layer were taken out. So with one shot, with 21 artillery cannons, it went through 5 layers of combat steel and damaged a 6th layer of pure combat steel. That's pretty impressive. That's a lot of damage against combat steel. And if you remember the damages we were doing earlier, you notice that combat steel is the more tanky of the two when it comes to explosion damage, so it is expected that combat steel would hold up better than Xeno based on the other tests that I did. Hardened steel kind of just disintegrated. There's not much left to it. Xeno did hold up better than hardened steel, although not much better. You know, a hole that big versus a hole that big doesn't really matter at that point. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of how that holds up, and I don't know where the steel block is. It's got 1 block left, 37 hit points. That's more than we can say about this block down here for steel, but either way, that's completely gone. So, cool to see. 21 individually rowed. This is 2 wide. It looks like we started damaging the 5th layer here. Yep, the 6th layer did not get touched. The 5th layer has negative 907 hit points, negative 702 hit points. That's interesting. These are negatives. So we're just gonna remove those guys and say, hey, yep, you're gone. Have not seen that before. So we're gonna go ahead and say they got destroyed. Although in a game they'd probably require another explosion to destroy them, which would be unfortunate. But yeah, so we're gonna say those got destroyed. And so yeah, you still got through 5 layers, and this is the 2 blocks wide. So that's kind of cool. This one, combat steel. There's still 2. It did not get through 5. It got through 4 barely. Well, that block's almost damaged, so it got through 4 layers. Hardened steel busted through them all. So again, you can see the difference with big impacts. Does hold out better than hardened steel. Steel disappeared. 3 blocks wide. Held out slightly worse, or sorry, slightly better. The blocks held up. Overall damage, though, you can see it didn't penetrate quite as well. I don't need to go through all those, but you can kind of see the trend with how those are going. And then finally, 21 at once. Actually, what's interesting? You look at 3 wide all the way back versus 21 at a time, and these two aren't very different. There is certainly a little bit more that you gain by having them staggered at this level, but it's not all that much different. There is definitely more, I guess, another layer, but it's not as significant as I was expecting. Combat steel, you can see the difference. Hardened steel, and then finally regular steel. So obviously we've came to the conclusion that one at a time is the best answer, but the other question that I think is out there is, if you're going to do one at a time, how much are you going to stagger them? So let's go through and do that. I'm going to go through again. This first one is staggered 3 back. And I'm going to start at the bottom on these just so I know which one I'm starting with. And I am just going to do Xeno and Combat Steel. I probably really only need to do one of them, but I'm going to do them both anyway. For the sake of this test, I only have 5 artillery cannons on each vessel. So I'm only using 5. I think with 5 cannons, you'll still be able to start seeing some of the differences. All right, this one is staggered 4 blocks back. And I personally have not done this test before that I'm doing right now, so I'm not sure what it's going to yield. I'm not sure what it's going to show. I don't know if it even matters if it's 3, 4, 5, or 6, or if there is a cutoff. The one thing that could also play into this is it's possible that if you play on a multiplayer server, the lag could also influence how much you stagger them. So if you have a little bit of lag in the server and how it calculates the explosions, having more staggered might be necessary, but we'll see what this test result yields and what it shows. Again, this one was the vessel that had them 5 blocks staggered, and this last one is 6 blocks staggered. And did I forget to set my cockpit? I sure did. All right, rocking and rolling. Staggered by 6 blocks. And then once we're done with this, I'm going to go over and make my recommendation on how I would set up turrets based on my other ships, and maybe how I do it differently than they are currently set up based on what I found with these tests. Alright, let's take a look. So, the bottom one was 3 blocks staggered, 4 blocks staggered, 5 blocks staggered, 6 blocks staggered. You know, interestingly enough, I'm just looking back at how much was destroyed. There's probably a more technical way of doing this, by averaging out the block damage with all these. But if you look at how many blocks busted out down through that 3rd layer, it almost seems like these bottom ones were better, which is not what I was expecting. It almost seems like the ones that were staggered 3 blocks, because if I look at how many are missing at the 3rd level, 1, 2, sorry, there's none missing at the 3rd level there. Sorry, I'm talking the 2nd level. 1st level, 2nd level. How many are missing at the 2nd level each? That's what I'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 4. So four blocks busted out of the second level. 10 blocks here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sorry, 11. 12 blocks here. 14 blocks here. I gotta do this again. It's not what I was expecting. It almost seems like the tighter. How does combat steel look? Combat steel is showing the same thing. The grouping that was offset by 3 seems to be doing the most damage. Alright, let's do that again. I'm actually surprised to see this. I'm not going to lie, I was expecting to see something completely different. Alright, so we used the bottom 4. This one is showing the most damage. This one here, it's offset by 3, is the one that we did first. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right next to the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to do this one right there. And if I need to spawn another damage panel, I'll certainly do that. Maybe I'll spawn it a little closer. Alright, gotta wait for it to reload. Alright, here we go. Let's run up there and look. So this one right here was the first one that we did with the rows of 6. I'm going to put that number 6. That's a 6. That's a 6. This is a 3. This is a 5. 4 and 3. So that's how the staggered they were. This is the first 6, which only had 4 of them busted down. This one's still, wow, how many of these are at the second level? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 blocks busted out of the second level again. This one, 7. This one had 4. Consistently, 4. This one had 14 both times. If we look at the combat steel, nothing busted through. 3 blocks busted through. This one got 1. This one did get 1 block busted through. But that's interesting. 3 blocks to king. Huh. Not what I was expecting. Well, there you go. That's why we do tests. So it turns out, and now I'm kind of intrigued, I might have to set up a test to set them up 2 blocks apart. Might have to do that. Actually, I'm going to pause the video really quick. I'm going to set up a 2 block to see if that outperforms the 3 block. I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. That was fast. I set up the 2 block offset test. Alright, let's see what this guy does. Not gonna lie, I can't really see which ones I've shot. I think this one. I think that's a good one. Alright. This is going to be interesting. Well, I'll know if I've already shot it because I painted numbers on them. But hopefully it's right next to a number 3. Oh, I'm way off. Well, I can count the number of blocks that are busted out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excuse me, 11. So 11 blocks busted out there. However, on the combat steel, 4 of them busted out. Here you got 3 busted out. That's the most. I've never seen 4 busted out of any of the other ones. So that's interesting. But if you look at, it's only had 11 total broken blocks at the second level. This one had 14. 11 puts it really on par with the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 5 had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5. So, okay. But the combat steel, it actually, I'm going to shoot a couple more. And now I know I can go below that. I want to shoot another one, just to see what happens. Yeah, I can go. Right there. Waiting for the reload. And right there. As soon as the reload's done, I'll hop out and take a look at those. See how many blocks I broke through at the second layer. And it was this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. So that's, not quite as good as the 3. Combat steel broke 2. So, still broke 4. Broke 2 there. This is going to be a 2. This is going to be a 2. Yeah, so that's how they did. That's interesting. So, when you combine the two tests, what that tells me is you definitely want to have all your turrets individually if you can. So you look at what happened up here in the artillery when you had them one by one by one all the way back. It certainly did a significantly more amount of damage than having them 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 or all 21 at a time. You can see the amount of damage it did more. However, what the test down here tells me is that when you stagger them, you really only want them staggered 3 blocks. Because once you start going to 4 and 5, it seems like you're doing less damage, and I don't quite understand why. I wonder if there's some type of a stacking damage mechanic in there. But in any regard, even at 2 blocks, that one seemed to do a pretty good job. 2 blocks staggered seemed to do a pretty good job. So, alright, so let's head over here. I'm going to take a look at my ships. I spawned in a couple of them. I'm just going to probably use one of them just as an example of what I would have done differently on how I set up the turrets. This is a lot of turrets, so it's a good example of how to stagger them. You don't necessarily need this many, but anyway, so what I would have done differently is now that I've done those tests, the way I have this ship set up is this front band here is all rocket turrets, missile turrets. So that's 6 missile turrets on this front section right here. This next section right here is another 6 missile turrets. And I'm counting them in horizontal sections like this because these are all going to hit the enemy ship at the same time. They're all going to fire generally at the same time. They're generally going to hit at the same time. The next band, these are all plasmas. The next band has a bunch of plasmas on it, although it does appear some of these are more offset or staggered. What I would have done differently in this front nose is I would have mixed plasmas with the rockets within the same level. So instead of having all rockets in the front layer, maybe I would have had 4 rockets and 2 plasmas. Maybe this layer would have had 4 rockets and 2 plasmas. Instead of having plasma, plasma, plasma here, maybe I had rocket, rocket, plasma, plasma. Same as here, rocket, rocket, plasma, plasma. I would have split those up a little bit more. The other thing I would have done differently as well is back here, cruise missiles. So you've got cruise missile, cruise missile, cruise missile on this side. Straight across, cruise missile, cruise missile, cruise missile. And if you remember the test we did in the other video, 2 cruise missiles would bust out a block. 2 cruise missiles will take down the block. If it's combat steel or Xeno, maybe combat steel was 3. I actually can't exactly remember. I thought it was 2, but either way, it's not 6. So what I would have done differently there is instead of having all your cruise missiles or even grouping them together at all, is having them mixed together. So kind of go back to this front cone. Maybe you have some cruise missiles mixed in these layers as well, and you shift some of these other ones back here further. You go back a layer, cruise missile again. Break up these cruise missiles, mix them in with your ship. Have a blend throughout your ship so you always have something hitting at a different time, so that way you layer in the damage that's hitting when it hits. Artillery, obviously, 5 artillery side by side. Maybe that's a little overkill. You probably don't need that because you'd be better off having them staggered. Although if one row hits, the next row is going to come in right behind it. They're both going to do a significant amount of damage. So it maybe isn't terrible, but that those again would be another one that are good candidates to spread out a little bit. Interestingly enough, I thought I was going to have to look at potentially moving out these artillery cannons and spreading them out, but 3 blocks or 2 blocks seem to work pretty well, and these are 1, 2, 3, actually 4 blocks offset, 3 or 4 blocks offset, so I could even compress them a little bit tighter. One of the things I might want to do though is this pack here is break this up and spread it out throughout the ship. I've already started to do that on the Soul Siphon. I put some artillery cannons down here. Although now that I look at it, they're in line with these, which I do want to break that up some more. I've got some right here. And then I did put some underneath here. So these 2 under here, which are kind of out there in the middle, I intentionally spaced that out. So probably more spacing to be done. But that's probably about all I got. That was kind of interesting to do. I hope you learned a lot from that. If you have any questions, certainly let me know. But otherwise, it was tons of fun. And thanks again for joining in. See you next time. Take care, everyone.